Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kristine Laughter, and today I'm going to be leading a workshop titled Master Your Money, Mastering Loan and Repayment Cash Flow, Practical Strategies for Entrepreneurs. And the reason we're covering this topic is because we run a microloan program. We run the NSBCI kinship loan program here at Change Labs. And our goal is to really help entrepreneurs who are going to be borrowing money or either from us or anybody else and help them with managing cash flow during a loan payment process to make sure, number one, that you are managing your cash flow so that you can make those payments on time. And number two, to really allow you as an entrepreneur to have a full grasp of what is happening with your cash flow within your business. Because when you know what's happening with your business and you know what money's coming out and what money is leaving, you know what to do with your business. You know if you need to increase your activity to increase revenue. You know that if you have to set some money aside if it's a busy season, but we're going to talk about that today. So let me get going to the next screen here. So yeah, she Christine Laughter Yanisha Nakaidan Anishla no dad dana touching Ibashichin Kia Ani Desha Shado Lizatlana Deshanella I'm Kristine Laughter, and I am from the community of Kayenta. I am a mom, I am a grandmother, and I have been with Change Labs now for 5 years and enjoy the work that I do around getting entrepreneurs, native entrepreneurs, in a position so that they can have access to capital through our lending products. Thank you for joining me. So what I hope you'll take away from our class today is to understand the importance of a clear repayment plan using tools like spreadsheets or budget apps to track your payments and really just putting together a budget. Spreadsheets are easy to find. You can create one through Excel, and Excel actually has templates. You can go online and you can Google that topic. And so we just want to work with you to create a budget and understand cash flow. So we have an icebreaker activity that we would like everyone to participate in. And so it doesn't look like there's anybody here though. So we're just going to ask the question, when you think about budgeting and loan payment, what's your first thought? When you think about budgeting a loan payment, is your first thought stressful but necessary? I have a plan, but I need help staying on track. I feel confident managing my cash flow. What is budget or what budget? I just go with the cash flow. So when you are thinking about creating a budget, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I will tell you personally, when I am doing really well, and I've experienced this in my own life, I was always on top of my budget. I knew exactly where every penny was going. And then there was a time when things got rough for me and I let my budget run off and get away from me. And I just didn't even know how much money I had in my bank account, didn't know how much money I was going to have to pay a bill. It just got away from me. But then I got back on track. So we do that from time to time. I can imagine everyone may have a point in their life where they're not managing their cash flow as they should. Even people who have money to pay bills, I've seen them get so overwhelmed with their day-to-day life and they forget a payment, they skip a loan payment, they just neglect things. But we're going to talk about how you can get on track and stay on track. So first of all, we're going to talk about money. Let's talk about your relationship with money. This is a topic that I really didn't talk about before. Even when I worked in banking, I worked for a national bank for about 15 years. And during that time, I mean, I really wasn't comfortable even talking to other people about money, even though I was dealing with money all day. I was counting the vault. I was doing everything, balancing our vault down to the penny every day. But I was not talking about money with other people. Like, what is your relationship with money? How do you overcome your fear, or what maybe you've had some trauma with money? What skills do you have to manage your money? And what to say when people ask you for money. Like, we live in a community, and I remember this even growing up, people coming, knocking on the door, asking my parents if they could borrow money. And there was a little system that was in place where my mom would lend money, to people, and they would pay her back. And, that's just, it was just how our community worked. But, do we still do that? Do people still do that now? And then how to stay ahead of the game when you're dealing with money. I find it really interesting myself that I tell people, I said, the color of money, it's green. It's green money. And is it green or white? Anyway, money is the same color. It has the same value. It's in your pocket. You have a dollar bill. It's the same dollar bill that the next person next to you has. So we have our money, and we really can talk about how we can manage that money, what we're going to do with that money that's in our pocket or our bank account or stuffed under our mattress. So money gives you freedom. I was just talking to April. April, she's one of our coaches, and she actually led a session on the trauma of money. And I really enjoyed her session. I really enjoyed hearing about why people have trauma. There's different things that may have happened with people. I mean, I think about myself when I was in banking, something that I saw, and it was unfortunate, is, there was a lot of people who would run low on their bank account, and then they would overdraw their bank account. And boy, the overdraft fees were just crazy. Like, the people that don't have the money have to pay the biggest fees in the banking world. And that just did not make sense to me. So I know that there are people who just, when it comes to money and putting money into a bank, they're just really doubtful if that's what they should do because they had a negative experience sometime in their life. So the fear, do you have a fear about money? Did you have a bank account when you were, 18 or 19, and you just had a negative experience because you really didn't understand how bank accounts worked, and you maybe overdrew the account and didn't have the money to bring the account back to the positive, and then that account closed, and now the bank says, "Oop, Jack over here is not going to be able to open another account with us because he owes us, $100 or whatever it is." So now you don't want to go into a bank because you have that fear. You have the fear that you're going to get rejected. You have the fear that they're going to come after you, take the money that you have in your brand new account. Things like that happen. Then the question is, how do you face your fears? How do you face your fears when you are dealing with money? So I recommend that you take and take a look at the class, the trauma of money that April Joe led. It's such a informative class. Now, money is a tool, and we may ask the question, like, how is it a tool? How do you use money? And money is not a goal, but money is a tool, and you can use that money and you can do different things with your money. I've seen this when I was in banking. One of my older elderly customers, he had stacks of $100 bills. He had them, and he didn't bring them into the bank and put them into his bank account for safekeeping. He had them in, like, I don't know if it was a tin box or what type of box, but he had buried it maybe in a crawl space under his house, but it was there for so long. And guess what happened to his money? Because he didn't want to use a bank account to keep his money. The termites got to his money. The termites were chewing through his money. Termites like money, just FYI. And I think it's because money is made with like material, right? It's this pulp. I mean, if you ever wash a dollar bill, it comes out nice and clean, and it's not like paper that just gets ripped apart. But anyway, termites ate the guy's money, and he came into the bank, and his daughter says, "Oh my gosh, my dad, he found his money like this," and I was like, "Oh gosh." And first thing that I looked at is, does it still have the serial numbers? Because we can take those $100 bills, and we can actually send them into the US Treasury and say that this is damaged money. We need to get these replaced. And as long as the serial numbers, both sides of the $100 bill had the serial numbers, we were able to send his money in and get it replaced because it was damaged currency. So it's really interesting. That's a story about really how somebody actually literally kept their money in a shoebox, and termites got to it. Instead of thinking about, like, wow, if he would have taken that money and maybe put it into an account that would have earned him some interest. I don't know how long that money was sitting in the shoebox for, but he lost out on some interest. I mean, back then the interest rates weren't really high, but he lost out on interest that he could have been earning on his money. Maybe he didn't know and understand what that process looked like. But again, talking to people about money and how to use it to grow, because that money maybe could be used for, maybe his grandchild, went to college, and maybe he could help his grandchild with tuition or books or whatever. But money can be a tool. It can be a tool to help you to meet, well, it says it's not a goal, but to meet your goals. And money can be a tool to help you to create generational wealth. That's another word that I had not used before actually coming to work for Change Labs. Even though I worked in banking for 15 years, I never talked about generational wealth. It didn't appear to be something that was attainable with the people that I was dealing with every day. But generational wealth is something that you can attain when you use money and you look at money as a tool. Another thing with money is shame. A shame that people have no shame when asking you to give them money. And I don't know, I don't really agree specifically with this, because we live in a community, and we live in a community where we help each other out. People are okay with asking family for money, because we look at this as a reciprocal type of thing. Like, if I help you out when you're having a tough time, I'm really hopeful that you're gonna help me out. And there is no shame in that. There is no shame in having to ask for help. There should be, no shame in asking for help. If you're making an agreement with somebody and you say, "Well, here, Raquel, I'm gonna borrow $20 from you today, and I promise to pay you back on Monday. We get paid on Monday, so I promise to give you this $20 back on Monday." And I shake Raquel's hand, that's an agreement. Maybe I have an emergency, I needed that, and that's okay. But we have to stick to what we said we were going to do. And then Monday comes around, and if I don't give that money back to Raquel, now Raquel's going to say, "Gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help her out again if she comes to me." Or if I say, "Hey, Raquel, I'm not in town, but I promise I'm going to stop by your office tomorrow morning, first thing, and I'm going to drop off the money." "Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know." Great. So, make sure that you stay in communication with people whenever you're talking and dealing with money, even if it's with your friend, or if it's with a finance company, maybe you finance your car, you have to stay in communication with the people. I'm moving my screen here. Talk about money. Rich people believe money is earned through thinking, while the average person believes money is earned through time and labor. And this is interesting, because I was reading excerpts from a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's exactly the thinking. Is the rich dad says, you take this money and you invest it, and you let this money work for you. Whether it's buying property and then renting out the property so that you can earn rental income, or you just, go to work and work every day on an hourly wage so that you can earn that money. And there's just different ways that people think about money. But we can start to change our thinking when it comes to money. And it's up to you. It is up to you to decide, what your thoughts and what your beliefs and your goals are. All right. So, one thing, this is new. I didn't have this in the last class, but I want to talk about the circle of life. The reason the circle of life resonates with me is because I come from a family of farmers. My father's side, my mother's side, they were farmers, and they planted, they saved their seeds. There's a cycle to that whole process. Like right now, I see the farms like around Shiprock along the San Juan River where people are burning all of the leftover, I guess, the corn stalks and anything else that's in their garden. Number one, to, I guess, refertilize the soil, get rid of any kind of bugs that might be there in the soil or the land right there, because they are getting ready for the planting season. And so the circle of life, when I talk about this, it's really can be anything that we do. It can be the planting fruits and vegetables, it can be fishing, it can be hunting, it can be gathering herbs that we get from the mountains, or even I think about different places around the community where my mom gets her herbs, and it just is based on the seasons. But the circle of life really makes us think and makes me think about how our ancestors had a process of preparing and then doing the work and then saving their crops, saving their harvests so that they could make it through the winter until next year, saving the seeds, drying the seeds, doing like the steamed corn process and drying the corn so that that corn could last into the next year. And they taught us something that we didn't need to go to a bank or go to a class to learn this. But I think sometimes we forget where we're coming from and where we're going. And when I talk about the circle of life, it's we're doing exactly what our ancestors did, but we're doing it with cash, we're doing it with the money that we earn, we're doing it with a banking account, with our budgeting process, with saving money and setting money aside for big purchases, or saving money aside because I know that in the fall tourism season is going to slow down and I'm not going to have as many customers. So all the fruits of my labor from the summertime, I'm going to save some of that money so that I have money to use in my slow season. Same thing as our ancestors did, taking the corn and drying it and saving it for the colder seasons, taking even squash and having a cellar system to keep that squash so that it stays well enough to use into later on in the year. So we did have a process. We did have a budgeting and a saving process. Our ancestors have taught us that. So now we're going to talk about how we're going to use that in what we're doing. This is the circle of life. I actually pull this from the Building Native Communities workshop that I did with Awista. And think about yourself, and you can do this diagram on a piece of paper. Start over here with spring, summer, fall, winter. If you want to change those to different areas on the paper, that's okay. Something that I also have used when I'm talking about the circle of life is the model. Oh, what is it called? My mind just went blank. But this is a model that you can use when you're thinking about the way that you're going to run your business, maybe the way that you're going to do your bookkeeping. Delphina is here, and she's an accountant. She's a contractor. She helps people with accounting. So I only imagine, like, what does the circle of life look like for an entrepreneur? Because I know everybody right now is trying to get all of their bookkeeping and everything from 2024 finalized so they can file their taxes by April 15th. So where do they fall at on this circle of life chart? Something I always tell people to do is, when you're bookkeeping and you're taking care of your books, you want to take care of that like in every quadrant, right? So you're going to do something in the summer, fall, winter, And then here comes spring, you're going to have everything that you've been working on, and you're going to be able to finalize all of that work in the spring. And they're going to continue the same process all year long so that when it comes springtime, you're not scrambling to get all of that paperwork in place. It's just the same with budgeting. You think about budgeting, like I said, when you're a business that has a ton of business in the summertime, and you know that the fall and winter is slow. So what are you going to do? How are you going to make sure that you make that money last this full circle from summer all the way to fall, winter, spring, and then back into summer again? So the question here is, why budgeting and cash flow matter. Avoid financial stress and miss loan payments. You just, when you have a budget, and for me, I'm a visual person. If I have my budget right here on a spreadsheet, maybe it's on my computer, but I can see how much money I'm going to have coming in during the month. So for the month of March, we're already toward the end of March. So I'm going to be looking at my spreadsheet and say, okay, I have, this is my income, this is where money is coming in, and then over here are my expenses, and these are the bills that I'm paying. And this is going to show me like what bills I paid. I mean, I have a process, I check them off or I highlight them to show that I paid them, but I have a process so I can actually see my budget every month. And it helps me to know exactly what is paid and what I spent my money on, because it's really important to know where your money is going. There's an activity that I've done where I have business owners actually go in and I have them do 1 week of tracking their spending. So this is an activity that you can do. Track your spending. You can start today. I mean, let's see, today, what did I spend money on? Actually, I haven't spent money on anything because I made coffee at home, and then I got to the office and there was soda in the fridge. So I had one of the sodas and I had a donut that was on the counter. So I haven't spent any money today, but I know to prepare for my trip, I had to get a tank of gas yesterday. So that money that I spent was for this trip. I know that I have other expenses that are related to me. I'm going to have to spend some money today on lunch, so I'm going to have to add that into my expenses. So it's important to know where your money is going. It's important for you as the person, earning that money or sharing that money with the household, to know where your money is going. And so that way, when you get to the end of the month, the end of the month is just right around the corner. I can say, wow, you know what? I cut my expenses this month and look, I have some extra money. So now I can put that extra money maybe toward a credit card payment because I want to try to get that credit card paid down, or maybe I'm just going to put it into a savings account. Graduation is coming up. I know I need to set some money aside for that event, and that's what I've been doing. So maybe that money will go there. So that helps you as a business owner to avoid financial stress and miss loan payments. Budgeting and cash flow matters because it ensures a steady business operations, right? You want to make sure that what you're doing in your business is you're keeping activities going forward so that you're going to keep earning money for your business. You're going to be able to make the payments that you need to make. It's so interesting. If you sat through our workshops, Jessica did a financial projections class, and this all ties in to financial projections, what we're talking about here, because when you're looking at projecting your financials for the next 1 to 2 years, I mean, where are you going to get this information? You're just not going to pull it out of your head. You're going to say, you know what? I'm going to go back to my budget worksheet because everything that I did for my business is in my budget worksheet for my business. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to see last year in March, this is how much I spent for utilities for my business. And then maybe I say, okay, well, look at July. Utilities in July went up because maybe I'm running my AC more and because it warms up. So you'll see that when you're doing your cash flow or your financial projections, you're looking at your past data, right? You're looking at your past data to forecast for the future. So having budgets in place and having all of this information in place is going to help you. You may not see that it's going to be working for you, but it will. So it's important to keep on top of those. And it also helps to improve financial decision making and long-term stability. When you look at your budget, you might say, you know what, I am not going to purchase that deep freezer that I needed for the business just yet because I need to save, maybe it's a $500 freezer, I saved $250. Let me just continue saving that because I'm doing okay right now. So I'm going to make my decision based on my budget. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to continue saving for that deep freezer. In 3 months, I'm going to have enough money to buy that. So that's my plan. So planning is part of the budgeting and cash flow process. So the question or the things we're going to talk about are fixed and variable loan payments. So fixed loan payments are like your car payment or your house payment. Those are, if you take out a loan and you have a fixed rate or fixed payment plan, you are saying that I'm going to take out a loan for my car and it is for a 4-year term and the payment is going to be $450 every month for 48 months. So that's a fixed rate payment. But other things like credit cards and home equity loans or lines of credit, for example, lines of credit and credit cards are basically the same thing. Your balance is going to determine what your monthly payment is going to be. So if you have a $1,000 balance on a credit card or a line of credit, your payment's going to be based on that balance. Maybe it's only $25 a month. But if you have like a $5,000 balance, the payment is going to be a lot higher because your balance is higher. Maybe for that amount, maybe the payment is going to be 175 every month until you bring that balance down. One of the things I would recommend if you have your payments like that, when you're doing your budget, you want to look and say, okay, well, this is my payment, or this is the balance for this credit card that I have, XYZ credit card. And the interest rate on this is 18%. And I have, a $5,000 balance on it. And then I have another credit card, ABC credit card, and that one has a $2,000 balance, but the interest rate is a 0% interest rate for the next, 12 months. So when you think about like making decisions on what payment you should make, if you do have that extra money at the end of the month and you're thinking, well, maybe I'll just pay toward my credit card. Yeah, pay toward that higher interest credit card, bring that balance down quicker. Having all of that information on a spreadsheet will help you to determine how you're going to spend your money, how you're going to plan your payments. Interest rates and loan terms, what is the impact? Again, the high interest rate credit card, 18% with a $5,000 balance. If you were to go into a program and amortize, so amortization program, you can actually go in and plug in, say $5,000. My interest rate is 18%. And if I'm going to only pay $50 a month, how long is it going to take me to pay this off? Versus if I plugged in the amount and said, you know what, I can afford to do $200 a month. How long will this take to pay me off? It gives you a number, gives you like, it'll say, it'll take you this many months to pay off, and you'll be able to see exactly how much it's going to cost you to make that minimum payment versus paying a little bit more on your high interest rate account. Start to look into that, start to do some amortizations. Even with your car payment, if you look at your car payment and you say, you know what, if I could pay $25 or $50 more a month on my car payment, how soon would I pay off that car payment? The auto loans, it's not set in stone that you have to only make $450 on your loan payment. If you decide that, hey, I can make a little bit more, I can make a larger payment, I got this extra money from this work I was doing, so I'm gonna just make that loan payment and add $50 extra. You know what? That means your payments and your payoff is gonna be sooner. You're gonna pay that car off sooner than the 48-month term. So look at all of those things when you're looking at your loan activity, when you're looking at your cash flow. Keep everything if you can on a spreadsheet. And if you're not sure, there are templates. I know that there's templates in Excel, which I'll share with you in a little bit so you can take a look at that. What happens when you have a missed payment? What are the consequences? Some companies will charge a late fee. They'll I've even seen some people, if they're delinquent on a payment, they're going 30, 60 days delinquent. The company will do things like increase their interest rate because now they're high risk and now they have to pay a higher interest rate. Things like that can happen. So, just be aware of that, when somebody's delinquent on a payment, the reason why people who have a lower credit score may end up paying a higher interest rate is because the loan company knows that they're going to have to reach out and try to collect on this money if somebody's delinquent, and that costs money. It takes time, it costs money to try to get collections on missed loan payments. And so when you make your payments on time, that's going to help you get lower interest rates on loans. It's going to help you so that you have other opportunities. Like I mentioned, if you see some credit card offers, they'll say, if you do a balance transfer, you can get a 0% interest rate for 18 months or whatever. I mean, you can take advantage of opportunities like that. So you are paying a lower interest rate and because you're making your payments on time. So loan repayment is really important, and having the tools like the spreadsheets in place can help you to do that. So budgeting for loan repayments, you want to, of course, track your income and your expenses, which is very simple on a spreadsheet. You can, like me, it'll just show the expenses and it'll show the income that's coming in. Nothing really fancy about it, but I do have one spreadsheet that is very complex, and it shows for a business, it shows all of the expenses that the business has and the revenue. It shows maybe outstanding invoices that have not been paid. And so you have all of these different things happening with a business budget as well. And it's easy for you to create those spreadsheets using these templates to help you. And when you have things like set up and even an accounting program, you can extract this information so you can see what is happening with your business. One thing I recommend is, if you are a business owner, separate your business expenses and income from your personal. So when you have everything that is going on with your business in one spreadsheet, you're going to be able to see exactly what is happening with the business versus your personal. You want to allocate funds for loan payments first, and you want to say why. Well, because those are obligations. Those are obligations. You've made an agreement with somebody. You said, I'm going to do this. You want to be able to allocate those funds first. It's okay, this is going to get paid first. You want to build an emergency fund. You want to be able to set some money aside for emergencies, whatever it may be, and have that set aside. And then also, like I've mentioned, use some tools like spreadsheets or apps. There are apps that are specific to budgeting, and you can use those apps. I've seen different types of apps where it can help you to really divide what you have in your personal expenses, your business expenses, and it helps you to really separate those out, but really have a budget for both of those. So I'm talking about cash flow management, the importance of cash flow. You want to ensure that as a business owner, you have enough cash on hand to meet your obligations. If you have employees, you want to make sure that those employees are paid. You want to make sure that you're taking care of them. If your employees have benefits, you want to make sure that those benefits are paid. You want to pay the taxes on your employees' income, on their salaries. And so you want to make sure that you are keeping good track of all of those expenses. And you want to make sure that you have enough cash on hand to cover all of your expenses for your business. What's a good figure to have, what would you say, how many months expenses should you have set aside for your small business? Would you say 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? How many months do you think that you should have set aside just to meet your financial obligations? Okay, so 3 to 6 months is Joe, and then Delphine, 6 to 9 months. And you want to make sure that you have that because you never know what is going to happen. Well, you should know what's going to happen just by really forecasting based on your past performance from your business. So again, if your business is one that runs high on income in the summer months, maybe, now the summer months are starting. You want to be able to say, okay, I'm making all of this money, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go plan a trip to Tahiti now because I have all of this money coming in. No, because I need to plan. I need to plan for the future. I need to plan for the winter months when things slow down. And, that's just being a responsible business owner. That's being responsible because you know that you need to stay focused. Maybe you plan for 2 years or 3 years to go on that trip to Tahiti when it slows down. Maybe you're gonna say, well, I'm gonna go on a trip in 2 years in December, because that's when business is slow and there's nobody coming into our business. So that's what I'm going to plan. So again, part of your budgeting is what you will do so that you can set that money aside for that particular event. And so looking at cash flow and profitability, a business can be profitable but still struggle if cash is not available when needed. I will share the story about when I was a business banker. I worked for the bank and didn't do any loans on the Navajo Nation when I was on the Navajo Nation. But as soon as I got to Flagstaff and took a business loan, I got to look at a business's financials. I got to see their financials. I got to see what their cash flow was, got to see their profitability. And what I found was really interesting was this business really didn't have any profitability, but the cash flow was there. Every month they made money on their rental units. Every month they had their bills that they had to pay, but they did have a positive cash flow. They had money coming in. But interesting was the profitability was just really, really low. They paid themselves out of running the business, and they were barely breaking even every month. But what's interesting with the bank, they still gave them this loan. They gave them this huge loan to cover and they used these buildings as collateral. They used a big warehouse, they used some rental properties as collateral. And because they had profitability, because their cash flow was positive, they were able to get a loan. And I was just really blown away because I thought, wow, when you look at consumer lending, it's so different. But business lending is really based on what is happening within the business. So we're looking at cash flow and profitability. They are they can be very different, but you want to make sure that you're always having positive cash flow within your business. Identifying cash flow gaps. So recognize periods when cash flow exceeds inflows. So the outflow exceeds the inflow, and just plan ahead. Again, when you're looking at December, when your tour business is starting to slow down, you're going to see that money coming in is not as much as, June, July, August. But now you have money that you set aside in a savings account to cover that period because you already have planned it. You know that, you got to keep the utility, the lights on in the building. You got to keep the place warm. You have all of these obligations, insurance or other payments you have to make. So, identify when that cash flow is going to go down, but, have a solution to that when you are looking at your financials. So when you are looking at ways to manage your cash flow, when you have an invoice system, so let's say you invoice customers, you want to invoice them promptly and you want to be able to you want to be able to get those payments paid right away. Maybe you give them a discount. Maybe you say, okay, well, if you pay this invoice within 10 days, I'm going to give you a 10% discount, 5% discount, whatever it is. And maybe if they pay within 30 days, you still are going to say, well, I'll give you 10% discount if you pay within ten days. But if you pay within 30 days, I'll give you a 5% discount so that you know you're going to collect on those payments. You're going to get those payments quickly from the customer, and don't wait to invoice people. I worked with a business owner who was waiting till the last minute to send them the invoice for property lease that was going to be due at the end of the month. And even though that company knows that they need to pay this, they like, well, I just got the payment and now I got to go through the process of getting signatures to get this payment made. So my solution or recommendation to the business was, you know what, plan ahead, invoice your clients like 30 to 45 days in advance, maybe more. So that way they have the time, because you know it can take them 2 weeks to a 2 week turnaround to get that check paid to you. So, base it on your experience. Again, if you can get that invoice out sooner, it'll help you to keep that cash flow positive. Negotiate supplier payment terms. Again, just like I said, the discounts. You want to monitor inventory and reduce unnecessary expenses. We were just talking about this, how restaurants will really monitor the food that they have sitting on their shelves and their freezers. They don't want to have too much inventory because they paid for that. And if that food, let's say hamburgers and hamburger buns, if they're just sitting there and now the bread may go bad or whatever it is, that's wasted money, right? So monitor your inventory, plan, and again, base things that you're doing based on a forecast. You forecast things based on your past performance, and you can say, well, July is, a busy season for my restaurant. I know that, this is when we have the highest activity in our restaurants, because based on last year and the year before, our sales peak in July, and then they start to go back down in August. So plan on keeping your inventory at the right amount. So number one, you don't run out, because you don't want to run out and upset your customers, right? But then you also don't want to have things go spoiled because you had too much inventory. Then you want to set up the cash flow forecast. So again, going back to forecasting, going back to using your past data to forecast for the future is something that you can do. I am sure that there are software programs out there to help you with that. You can work with somebody that can help you to determine that. But it's really important for you to really take a look at those things and take a look at what has been happening in the past with your business to plan for the future. Again, looking at when you're doing your financial projections, for example, you can use the past performance to plan those things. So you can create a repayment plan for your loan. And again, I'm talking about this specifically because we are deploying we've been deploying loans, and we're going to be deploying more loans here, larger amount loans. So it's important for you to list all of your loans on your spreadsheet. So you have your spreadsheet for your business, and you want to list them and the payment dates. You want to prioritize your high interest loan. So that $5,000, 18% credit card, you want to look at paying that first. And that's the debt avalanche. You want to pay the highest interest rate loans first. Or you can do the debt snowball, where you pay the smallest balance first. Let's say the smallest balance, the monthly payment was $100. When you pay that off, you're going to take that $100 now and apply it to the next lowest balance account that you have, so that the money that you're using, you're not going to change your payments, the amount that you pay for your loans or your credit cards. It's just going to stay, and you're going to keep paying the same amount until you can get your loans or your credit cards paid off. Because when you do that, number one, it helps you with your payment performance. It helps you with your business's credit score. It helps you if you are looking to maybe look to expand your business, you need to take out a loan for that expansion, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, this business owner has been making the payments on time, and they're actually making more than the minimum payment." And all of these things come into place when you are looking at even growing your business. Automate payments to avoid late fees. So instead of auto payment, we all get so busy. Sometimes we just neglect to make that payment, and it's not like you're doing it on purpose. You just get so busy. So set up automatic payments. It's just simple, easy. Again, when you're planning for those slow times, you want to say, okay, I want to make sure that I transfer the money from my savings every month to cover these payments because I know what those payments are. And so it's just a process. Explore refinancing or restructuring options. Again, if you happen to get an offer in the mail that says, "Hey, we have this 0% interest rate if you do a balance transfer to this card, we're going to offer you 0% for 18 months." And then you have to read the fine print too, right? You have to read the fine print. What does that mean? Well, you can't be late on your payment. You have to make the payment every on time every month for 18 months, or this offer is void, whatever it is. But just look at the different options. I was just talking to a colleague of mine when I used to work at a branch on the reservation. I actually would refinance loans, auto loans, and mobile home loans. I had people who had 30-year mortgage payments on a mobile home that had like 70 or, between 50 to $70,000 balance. And I showed them, using an amortization schedule, how much money, they would end up paying over 30 years on this loan payment. But if they took that down to a 15-year plan, what would that look like and how much money would they save? And when you start to research and do and look at those numbers, you'll be amazed at how much money you can save. You'll be amazed at and say, "Wow, yeah, well now I can go on that trip that I want to because I'm not going to be spending as much money on this payment because I'm paying a little bit more right now, but it's going to save me in the future." So again, plan, look at numbers, find the amortization schedule, look at these things, because I think that when you look at these numbers, you're able to see what the possibilities are, and that's such an eye opener. So the tools that you'll want to use, like I said, you want to do the free budgeting and use cash flow templates. Those are templates you can find if you're in Excel or even Google Sheets. You can get some help with financial coaching and business support services, something like we offer here at Change Labs. We have coaches that can help you. And, you can just sometimes I think that all you may need is just someone to talk to about what you're dealing with and maybe get some advice. I tell people that there is an opportunity to do credit counseling when people run into an issue and they think that, well, gosh, I had this student loan payment that went delinquent because I was a student and I didn't have a full-time job after I graduated college, and I had this debt, and they're so worried that because of that they're not going to be able to do and meet other financial goals in their life. And I tell them, call the student loan company. Set something up and get yourself back on track to start making those payments again, because now you're working, now you have the income. And this is a real life situation. And this young lady, she called me back, and it was probably like a year later. And she said, "Oh my gosh, Kristine, I did what you said. And guess what?" She says, I'm on track again, making my student loan payments, and my credit score is improving because I did this. It's just small steps. Sometimes I think that we're afraid to do things because we don't know. But if you talk to somebody who has this knowledge, you might be able to get in the right step to get yourself out of a situation like this young lady was in. There's different apps, software that you can use for helping you with your budgeting: QuickBooks, Wave, Mint. I think another one is Zero. So take a look at these different resources. I wanted to share this with you. This is let's see here. Let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Okay, do you see my spreadsheet here, my Skoden coffee worksheet?
No.
Well, I don't know what to tell you guys. Let's see here. See, everything is good until I start messing around with this, and now I can't figure this out. Oh, okay, here. What about now? Can you see?
Yep. Is that the monthly budget?
Yes.
Yes, we see it.
I'm not sure which one. So this worksheet is basically something I created in Excel. I went in and I'm like, I need to create a monthly budget for my business. So this is Skoden coffee and fry bread. And the nice thing about this is I'm able to change numbers. I'm able to change, let's say my starting balance. Let's say instead of 2,000, maybe my starting balance is, 10,000. And that changes everything for, oh, what happened here? So that changes everything for this particular, oh, if I put this too big. So it changes everything. So the expenses, like my expenses plan, the actual amount here, it shows like what my increased total savings is, 23%. It shows what my starting balance is here, my ending balance. And then it shows also, how much I plan for all of my expenses here, and then the actual amount that I paid for here. So my plan, maybe I'll change this amount to $100. So now it's going to change everything. And I like this because the formulas are in here. The formulas are plugged in here. And I'm able to look at even my income, right? So my sales, $2,000 for the month. My drink sales is 1,400. That's what's planned, but the actual was 250. So maybe I'm thinking, well, gosh, what activity now as a business owner do I need to do to increase my drink sales? Maybe I need to go get in touch with that Pepsi guy to say, hey, did you get your drink sales up? Because I need to get my sales up. So, you figure out what you have to do that. Maybe your catering, let's say maybe your catering this month was $750. Maybe you say, well, this is a good month for catering. Well, what was going on this month? Well, it is graduation month. And so there was a few people who contacted me. So even doing this, maybe you say, well, okay, next month I need to plan better so that I, have more resources set aside for my catering. Maybe I know that I need to hire a few extra people to help me with my catering events because this is when the catering goes up. But this budgeting worksheet is just really it helps you to see what you are planning, what your actual is, and so that you can use this for next year. You can use this for, the next few months going forward. Always have a place where you can look at your past data so that you can start planning for the future. You always want to look at your past data, start planning for your future when you're looking at doing your financial projection. All right, now I'm going to go back here. Oh, does anyone have any questions on that? And if there's anybody puts their hands up, you need to shout out because I don't see any of anybody's hands up.
I don't
Let's
see any
see
questions
here.
in the chat, Kristine.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, here I'm gonna do this now. Okay, you see my slideshow. Okay, so the resources are there. There are resources for budgeting. There are the apps, the recommended apps that you can use for your business. You can go in and find the templates in Excel or even Google Sheets to look and see what it is that you need to do for budgeting for your business. I'm going to tell you as a business owner, it's really important that you got to just jump in with both feet and start to look for this material. I mean, we are in a time where everything is available at your fingertips. It just means that, you know what? Today, for 1 hour, I'm going to go and figure out how to find a budget. I need to go figure out how to do a budget. Maybe I'm going to go through Excel. Maybe I'm going to go find something on the web. But spend time looking for this information. Spend time, if you have friends who own a business, spend time asking those friends about what they're doing. Don't go over to Aunt Sally, who's never run a business, and don't say, Aunt Sally, where can I go find this? Because Aunt Sally doesn't know. She's never run a business. Go to your friends. Go to Jackie over here, who runs a business, who runs a coffee shop, and say, hey, Jackie, what kind of bookkeeping system are you using? What kind of budgeting system are you using? That's who you want to talk to. That's what you want to, those are the people you want to talk to about helping with your business. Or come to Change Labs, come to the eShip Hub in Tuba City, and we'll be happy to share some of the tools that we have for you right here. So we are going to do a breakout room. I see I have Norbert and Mackenzie. So we're actually we won't do a breakout room, but I'm gonna ask the two of you to come off of and share, turn on your video. I would like for you guys to introduce yourselves if you're comfortable with this. Introduce yourself to each other, and I want you guys to do a role playing. One person is going to be the business owner who struggles to balance loan repayment and cash flow. And then the other person is going to be the advisor and say, hey, this is what I would do. So are you, Norbert and Mackenzie, comfortable doing that? Because we can just take 5 minutes to do this, and then we can have a little discussion about that if you'd like.
I don't mind doing the activity, but I'm really bushy-headed. I'm homesick today, but I'm still.
No.
But I don't mind doing the activity, but I don't want to show myself.
All right. We'll be fine. Okay, Norbert, are you willing to do the activity? Well, I don't. Oh, there you are, Norbert. Would you like to do the activity with Mackenzie? And you don't have to turn on your camera, Mackenzie. If you want to just introduce yourself, to Norbert, and then we'll just do it. We'll just take a few minutes to do this.
Hey,
Hi, Kathleen. We're doing a little breakout activity, so we're just having two of the participants do a little role playing here.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Mackenzie, go ahead.
I'm Kenzie Navidma. What do I all need to say? What I do?
You're good. Yeah, sure.
Small business owner. I did some programs with Change Labs, and I like to come and do their sessions with them. I have a business, Sohu Applications, which provides educational opportunities to use in my community right now, but I'm hoping to expand later. From Hopi, First Mesa, it's me.
Norbert. So I don't hear Norbert. So what I'll do is I will play the business owner who is struggling, and then Mackenzie, you can be the financial advisor. How does that sound?
I will try my best.
And you can just whatever I covered today, you can use some of those ideas to help me. I'm Kristine, and I run Skoden Coffee and Fry Bread. My little business is located in Kayenta. I am open Tuesday through Saturday morning. I run my coffee shop from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. and I'm the only one who is running the coffee shop right now. And I get really busy some days. Some days I don't have any customers, but most days I'm busy. I think I would notice that when I do have like a special, if I advertise my coffee specials on Instagram, my business kind of picks up a little bit. And because on those days when I don't have business, it does have an impact on my loan payment. And, I don't have that cash flow coming in. So it does make a difference. And I can't make my loan payments like I want to. What would you recommend? What could I do to increase my cash flow?
Oh, let's see. And you said you're open every day?
Just Tuesday through Saturday.
Tuesday through Saturday. And I know that you talked about having a specialist when you have more business. So maybe some suggestions to help you with your financial payments that you need to make. You could maybe extend your hours, or not necessarily hours, but maybe every day. Maybe you could shorten the hours of the day, but have it every day, so then you can be more consistent with that, and your customers will know that you're open every day, just at these times, and then maybe having a certain special every week might help, and your customers would know, okay, she's selling her fry bread with powdered sugar this week, and next week it's fry bread with honey. So maybe they can help spread the word and help advertise for you on social media, and that might be able to help you to gain more customers, so you would be able to get more money to pay your loans.
Where should I be keeping all of this activity at?
What do you mean? Where should you be keeping it?
Like all of my sales activity.
You can use a Google Sheet. I use those myself too, and it generates on its own when you put the information in, when you put the, what do you call it, the formulas in. So once you get that figured out, you can always just copy it for the next month and then add those in as you go, because the formulas would be the same, but you wouldn't have to recreate it all over again. So that could be helpful, or you could get a booking system. I started using Wave just this year, so I'm still getting used to that, but it wasn't very expensive or anything like that. Not that a couple fry bread sales wouldn't cover.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you. I think I will definitely look at increasing my activity around my specials, and I will take a look at Wave and look and see if having everything in Wave is going to really help me to manage my cash flow and really watch my balance better and see what helps me, and maybe even charting when I do those advertisements, how that reflects in the sales I have every day. So thank you, Mackenzie. I appreciate your help. I'll definitely take your suggestions.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. Okay. So I encourage you, when you're a small business owner, to talk to somebody. I the pandemic was the worst time for me ever, because even doing work and trying to set things up and trying to create, even like this, right? Creating this information, I always need somebody to bounce my ideas off of, because a lot of times I look like a crazy person talking to myself. During the pandemic, I was doing my own mapping and looking at it and just, trying to figure out what I need to do. So find somebody, maybe somebody who can be a mentor, maybe a colleague, maybe somebody who is in the same business, and see if they're willing to help you, maybe share information or just answer any questions you have, and vice versa. If somebody, you're in business, if somebody is new starting their business and is asking you for some guidance, and they say, hey, I'm kind of struggling with, my cash flow, or maybe I'm just, seems things just kind of seem to be slow right now. What do you think I should do? Share your information. We're all here. We all want each other to be successful in our business and grow our businesses. So, just offer that assistance if somebody should ever come to you, because, it's all about reciprocity, right? And coming and helping others, because others who were ahead of us helped us out. Thank you, Mackenzie. So, what is your action plan? What are your next steps? You want to assess your current financial position. So you do that by really either the spreadsheets with your current budget information there, or entering things into Wave. Really glad to hear, Mackenzie, that you're using Wave now. Just starting something that, may look challenging, but and it may cost something, but hey, it's not anything that, a couple of days of fry bread sales may not cover, will cover. So, look at doing things that is going to help your business, because it does definitely cost money to run a business, and how you use the money that you have to implement different processes is going to help you. I know that some people are resistant to doing change, but change is always going to be beneficial. If you can do the research and you can figure out why it's going to be beneficial, do that. Learn about it. That's like the biggest piece of advice I can give, is to learn and research what you need to, so that you can get yourself in a position where you can get those payments made. Develop a loan repayment plan. Seek financial guidance and coaching, because that's what we do here. We're here at Change Labs to help you. We have our coaching hours available on our website. and you can go and make an appointment with us and meet with us, and we're happy to help. And I know of some people who actually go and meet with different coaches, because what one coach may tell you may not resonate the same as what another coach has to say. So, you just find the people who are going to be there for you, and who are going to be in your corner to help you, because we all want you to succeed as a small business. Now, does anyone have any questions? Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. It was great to have you all here. I'm actually going to be doing another workshop. It's going to be starting at 3 o'clock. And that is going to be about how you can use you use credit as an asset, basically, how you can, make that your superpower, having a positive or a higher credit score, make it your superpower. So anyway, we're going to be seeing you guys at 3 if you want to join us for that. If not, check out our calendar and see what other workshops we have going, because everybody's doing workshops here at Change Labs. I know Marcia had a couple of workshops yesterday, the day before Jessica did. We are here. We want to help our entrepreneurs to get in a position where they are going to where they're going to be taking a loan, or putting themselves in a position where they can have access to more capital and help them to grow their businesses. So thank you, everyone.